Do you need the 5-star to win a championship, coach? And then we're talking modern day. And I mean, gosh, did you get out of coaching at the right time?
Yeah.
You skipped over all this NIL stuff, but do you need a 5-star?
No, no. Some of the best players. Were you a 5-star?
I was damn near close. I
I
mean,
know you were
yeah,
5
I was up there.
4-star. You were a 4-star, and you were the highest ranked guy. No, Justin Tuck was a 3-star. I could name guys. The best players. The best players were 3 and 4-stars that wanted to show everybody who they really were. And this 5-star thing, yeah, that's great. That's all great for points, and that's all great for at the end of the year who had the best recruiting class. Well, the bottom line, the best recruiting class doesn't go to the bowl games. The best football team goes to the bowl games.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
now you got to be careful because there's some pretty good guys out there that are evaluating. And if you have a whole team of 3-stars and 2-stars, now you're not going to do real well, no matter what, but 5-stars, I don't know. I mean, what's the difference between a 5-star and a 4-star? I don't know if there's anything,
I've always looked at it, to me, through my lens, coach. I think a 5-star is almost like a ready-made NFL player. Like if I was rated higher than a Courtney Watson, Courtney played running back and ended up being a Butkus finalist. But like, you've got your 20 pounds heavier, you're an inch taller, you're just more ready physically. That's how I've always looked at how you delineate between a 4 and a 5-star is just maybe they're a half inch taller, again, 20 pounds heavier. That's
right,
how I've always seen it.
right. And maybe they went to a lot more camps,
Sure,
and a chance to be rated. It compared to the guy that's in the middle of the backwoods somewhere that all he does is play football.
yeah. This is true. This is true. And then those are the guys that sometimes wind up at these. Yeah, they're somewhat unheralded coming out of high school, like some of these Bama recruits, and then 3 years later, they're first-round picks.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So, D-line was your specialty, coach. This is me kind of I've become a lot more invested in Notre Dame football now that I do this podcast, right? I mean, it wasn't necessarily the case a decade ago. Modern day football, all the D-line talent that you've accumulated and trained and coached, even into the NFL, how important is it to have like a 300-pound plus interior guy nowadays? Can you win a championship without? I mean, Notre Dame struggles to get those guys. Do you need that nowadays?
Everybody stumbles to get those guys. I mean, the thing. Here's what happens when you're a high school football player. If you're a really good athlete on that team, you aren't playing nose tackle or 3 technique. You're playing defensive end. And that's where you want to play. I mean, I remember a kid I had at Michigan by the name of Chris Wormley. And Chris Wormley was a tremendous young man that was a giant. He was huge. He was from Toledo. And I mean, he played defensive end. And you could see he was not going to be a defensive end, but it took him maybe a year or two to decide that, okay, I'm going to play inside. Well, he's in his 3rd or 4th year now starting for the Steelers,
Sure.
But kids in high school, they don't want to hear 3 technique or 1 technique. They don't want to hear playing defensive tackle. So when you find a young man like this guy that just came out from St. Ignatius, I mean, he's got the twitch and the explosiveness probably to be a 6 technique defensive end, but he is so good inside and he likes playing it. That's what he's played. So you got a guy that you don't have to recruit on your team to move inside.
Got it.
Already going to play there, and he's already big, and he's already strong, and he has the outside quickness that you want inside. So you got the big picture right there.
Got it. When you guys, this is something I frankly, I don't know the answer. So like you're talking about recruiting a Mike Goolsby in Joliet, Illinois, yet you're going down to Kellyton, Alabama to recruit Justin Tuck. So how does a staff or like staffs that you've been on, could you give us an example of how you guys break down who recruits what area, what position, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, usually it starts out where you're familiar with. And I was a Midwest guy. I
Sure.
was up in Wisconsin. I had coached at Northwestern. I had coached at Michigan. I'd been in the Midwest. Okay. That was the first thing. So they would say, well, you probably should, this guy should be Midwest. Okay. Then they go by where you've been before and where did you recruit before? Well, I had been at Texas A&M for 3 years, and I recruited Texas, so I was familiar with that. And anytime a coach is familiar with a high school area, it's a positive because when you go into that high school, you don't have to spend the day trying to get the guy to know you and you know him. I used to know what high school I was going to go to, whether they had a player or not, just because I trusted the coach there, and he could tell me if there was a good player somewhere, and I would be able to. Then I could go from there to there. But I think that's the first thing. The next thing is, like, for me, I was coordinator, so the coordinator always has to go after the top kids on defense. If you're
Okay.
a defensive coordinator, you're definitely, usually it's going to be the guy who has the area, then it's going to be the defensive coordinator, and then the head coach has got to finish it off and get the job done finally at the very end.
So that's the way. Is that written in stone, coach, that like the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator is kind of the closer, and then I guess the head coach is kind of like the icing on top of the sundae? I mean, is that a hard and fast rule on college football staffs?
Yeah, that's really how it usually is. I'll give you a great example of it.
Please.
You might remember the name. I'm sure you do. I'm kidding you when I say this. When I was at Florida, I recruited Tim Tebow, and Tim Tebow was phenomenal. I mean, he's just like the guy you would die to recruit. His family were Christians. It was unbelievable. It was a tremendous thing. And I recruited him so hard, and he was homeschooled. Well, the offensive coordinator at the time, was kind of leaning towards someone else. And I'm going, oh, we can't do this. Well, finally, I had to get with the head coach and kind of convince him that we need to take this guy over. I mean, get rid of me. Get rid of me now. You better jump in full speed on this guy. Well, Urban did a phenomenal job, and Urban then that became his recruit when I had said that to him. So that's how it works. You have an area that you recruit, and then the one thing that is important, I think, too, it's the same in everything, in coaching and recruiting. Your ego's got to get out of the way. Too many young coaches, in my opinion, or too many coaches that maybe don't have great experience. They think they get paid by the number of recruits you get, and that isn't. Recruiting is part of coaching. Your job is to coach in the fall, and your job is to recruit and the year round. And your job is to bring in players that can help you win. Because when you're gone, nobody really cares who recruited the guy. Or when he doesn't make that tackle on 3rd and 3, they're not going to go look it up. Say, I wonder who recruited that guy. He's
Sure.
at the team that you're on. So recruit players that can win.